Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. And you know what I really don't like? When companies start to crack down on historically accurate games simply because they don't want to offend anyone, right? And that's what we've been finding out with Apple, right? Just the other day, Tim Cook said that he doesn't want to, or he doesn't see censorship or not censoring somebody is a sin. Someone who's bad, like Alex Jones, that sort of thing, in his mind at least. And I don't agree with that. A lot of people don't agree with that. But when you look at the policies put forward by Apple in regards to how they treat some of the games on the platform, yeah, you kind of see like that is very much a company mantra there. They do not want to offend the fifis of the international market. It is really the international market in many cases, right? I talked about this with Tumblr the other day, and I said that they are going to take out all the not for safe work content in order to appease the globalists. And people were just like, and I'm all like, think about it. They want to appeal to a larger, broader demographic. Outside of the United States, that larger, broader demographic are full of people who are completely pro censorship, completely pro shutting things down that criticize the government or criticize their people or criticize certain things. They are more than happy to shut it down. But you know what they're also more than happy to do? Spend money. And so it's easier for these companies to start to shut things down rather than try to find, a difference across regions and boundaries. Ubisoft tried this recently by getting rid of all their kind of sexy content in Rainbow Six in order to appeal to the Chinese market. And thankfully, gamers pushed back well enough for Ubisoft to go, okay, that was a bad idea. That was really dumb. Really, too. We shouldn't have done. Oh my God, we're so sorry. But Apple is worth way more than Ubisoft, and they don't give a crap. Because as we see here, Apple removes historically accurate strategy game Afghanistan 11 from the App Store for using the Taliban as enemies. That's right, folks. Literal terrorists are getting more of a proper treatment, right? Than they should in any considerable sense. Okay, but they're like, no, you can't talk about the can't do the Taliban. Never mind, they killed our troops, and there was a big reason why we fought them in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. There's the no, you can't talk about actual historically accurate military battles, right? That are tastefully done. That's not you can't do that. Education on the Apple? Please, we only sell it. We don't actually believe in it. But it says here, well, it seems like the news cycle these days moves so fast it's hard to keep up with what happened yesterday. Let's roll back the clock to mid-2015, when one of the primary controversies in the U.S. was removing as many Confederate flags and monuments as possible from public display. For some absolutely unbelievable reason, Apple joined in and removed everything from the App Store that featured a Confederate flag, including but not limited to most of the games involving the Civil War. This turned into such a massive story that it not only escaped gaming news circles, but escalated its way up to the mainstream media. This resulted in Apple eventually walking back those policies, as they should have. As they should have. If you don't remember that whole situation, when Dylan Roof walked into that church in South Carolina and gunned down 9 people, just like the monster that he is, the terrible person that he is, one who's on death row now, as he should be. I don't even know why they just didn't make him don't pass go straight to jail and take 2 in the back of the head sort of thing. All right. But what happened with that was a photo was released of him holding a little mini Confederate flag. Not even kidding. It was a little mini Confederate flag. And then the next day it was wildfire. Amazon's pulling Confederate flag. Walmart's pulling Confederate flag. All these people are pulling Confederate flags. And I asked the question, what makes it so different today than yesterday? To which case I was called a Confederate flag apologist or an apologist, even though I'm like, clearly I'm a left-leaning, liberal here. I supported the Union soldiers, right, in the war. If I was around in the Civil War era, that would have been totally my thing, anti-slavery all the way. But it's still asking a question, because what happens with that is the Streisand effect kicks in. And the Streisand effect kicked in hard for this one. All of those Confederate flags that were, by the way, manufactured in like Taiwan and sold through internet stores started selling out like crazy, because people in the South felt that their heritage was being taken away from them, and they didn't want to deal with that. They wanted to fight back. And they did. And this is what happens every single time. The only people that really have an impact in this whole situation are the manufacturers, because every time there's a ban on this kind of crap, they end up profiting heavily. But this time around, it's a little bit different because it's a digital game and not a tangible product. I should say it's not a physical product, very tangible. The developer who got burnt hardest by this seems to be Slitherine. whose catalog on the App Store consists of incredibly hardcore, incredibly historically accurate strategy games. To make these games so historically accurate, the battles played out inside them take place in real-world scenarios. These games are very tastefully done and often serve as fabulous educational experiences as you replay various battles from history and clearly see how miraculous a victory was or how inevitable a defeat may have been. Well, it seems that Apple is at it again, this time removing Slitherine's Afghanistan 11 from the App Store due to people from a specific government or other real entity as the enemies. This is a particularly absurd removal because, as mentioned, Slitherine's catalog focuses on historical accuracy. The enemies in Afghanistan 11 are the Taliban and other insurgents. But what makes Afghanistan 11 truly interesting strategy game is that success is focused more not on killing people, instead working towards rebuilding a nation and winning over the hearts and minds of local population, complete with the eventual withdrawal of forces entirely. So this is the almost anti-war game. If you watch the trailer, it is about building infrastructure. It's about expanding your bases. It's about helping to keep peaceful voting and have a successful transition. The entire point of Afghanistan 11 is to get out of a war. Yes, there's going to be conflict when you're working to try and take out the Taliban. There's going to be other insurgents as you're building towards peace. This is also one of the things that was kind of like the birthplace of ISIS kind of, but at the same time, it's not probably gonna be mentioned in there. It also features 18 different battle campaigns, recreating actual operations that took place in real life, like the raid that ultimately led to the capture of bin Laden. Again, historical stuff. And it was pulled down simply because Apple doesn't want to offend the fifis of terrorists or terrorist sympathizers. I don't think people in Iraq and Afghanistan, for the most part, outside of the sympathizers, are going to be like, oh, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put this in the game. I don't want this on my Apple. It's ridiculous to me. It's completely ridiculous to me that this is a legitimate thing that happened here. Pulling educational games, right? Games that are tastefully done, that are not meant to imply, one side or the other, really. I mean, obviously this one probably does a little bit, but it doesn't come at it from like, America, fuck yeah, it doesn't do anything like that. I watched a trailer. It's strategy based, and your goal is to work towards bettering the country and having a peaceful exit, a peaceful transition of power, so we can get out of there, which was the inevitable goal of it in the first place. I don't know. I don't know. This is insane that Apple would do this. It's insane that they don't seem to care about this stuff. And the thing is, this is going to require people to get mad. This is going to require people to tweet at Apple, to contact Apple on Facebook, on social media, and let them know that this is wrong. This is something that does require to go to the mainstream media, because as we start seeing these games being pulled for no other reason than accurately, or at least attempting to historically accurately depict the enemy in conflicts, then, it's just pull it down. And if it starts here, how many people how many SJWs in gaming are going to start calling for Resident Evil 5 to be pulled from store shelves because it was in Africa and they thought that it was racist, right? What does this give leeway to? What path does this take us down when these kind of games are pulled? Absolute censorship. But then again, when these companies like Apple and I mentioned Ubisoft are trying to break into these markets where mass censorship is allowed, mass censorship is approved, mass censorship is something that ultimately comes across as being A-okay, then yeah, what do they care? They only care about money, not what's right. And they need to be reminded that they should care about more what's right rather than the money. Anyway, I leave it to you. What are your thoughts on this one? Do you think that this is a dumb move by Apple? Do you think that Apple should go and remove this decision right away? Or are they well within the right as a company to do this and their reasoning is valid? I do want to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know down in the comments. If you made it this far, type in iOS in the chat so I know you guys made it. Also, please thumbs up the video and subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day and peace out.